But this was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparisons.
The masquerade is over. The false prophets have been exposed. The WNBA's attempt to handcraft its next superstar just crumbled under the bright lights of national television. Paige Bueckers, the so-called next Caitlin Clark, the media's golden child, the anointed heir, just received her reality check, express delivered by the Seattle Storm. And let's be clear, this wasn't a wake-up call. It was a demolition.
Of one Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you. It exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on the court.
For months, we've been spoon-fed the storyline, Paige Bueckers, heir to Caitlin Clark's throne. The media crowned her the savior of women's basketball, supposedly rewriting Clark's records at the same pace a teenager shatters iPhone screens.
Diva of Dump Divas Kat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick. No, Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season.
She was hailed as the fastest to 200 points and 50 assists, doing it in just 11 games, one game quicker than Clark. Headlines raved about her efficiency, her poise, her cerebral approach to basketball. ESPN even slotted her 13th in their mid-season rankings. The hype train wasn't just moving, it was barreling down the tracks, and everyone was scrambling to buy a ticket to the Paige Bueckers show. But here's the truth about hype, it's nothing more than hot air, until it collides with cold, hard reality. And reality had a name that night, Seattle Storm defense.
It's a little bit different, huh? It's a little bit different out here when you get Caitlin Clark treatment. It ain't so easy peasy getting to play one-on-one, getting to just do your thing, how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Paige Bueckers got the Caitlin Clark treatment for one game, and it got
August 22nd, 2025. Mark it down, the night the Paige Bueckers myth officially collapsed. Fresh off her much-hyped 44-point eruption against the Sparks, she strolled into Seattle expecting the coronation to roll on. Instead, she ran straight into a buzzsaw, a Storm defense that tore the shine off her crown and exposed every flaw in her so-called flawless game.
She went off in a game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring. And I think with that, these are some big numbers and those are some props.
11 points. That's all the so-called next Caitlin Clark managed when faced with a real NBA-level defense. Not 11 in the first quarter. Not 11 in the half. 11 for the entire game, on 2 of 11 shooting. No assists. 2 rebounds. Her stat line looked less like a future superstar's and more like a participation trophy from a youth league. Storm head coach Noel Quinn summed it up perfectly before tip-off. After scoring 44 the other night, it was in a variety of different ways. Translation: time to see if the princess could survive the Caitlin Clark treatment. Spoiler alert, she couldn't.
For the game, you said it's going to be important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of, made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated well, and everyone who ended up being on Paige from E on down, I thought.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe, because this is where the story gets really interesting. While Paige Bueckers was busy getting her welcome to reality moment in Seattle, let's talk about what the real next-level superstar has been dealing with all season. Caitlin Clark, the player who actually changed the entire landscape of women's basketball, has been taking hits that would make NFL linebackers wince. And the numbers don't lie. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the 2024 WNBA season were committed against Caitlin Clark. That's not basketball. That's target practice.
Paige Bueckers got Caitlin Clark treatment for the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking. 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor, letting her post up in the mid-range area one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what she wants.
The Chicago Sky alone accounted for 80% of the flagrant fouls against Clark. Think about that for a second. One team turned their defensive game plan into a demolition derby, and Clark still shows up every night to carry her squad. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers, she's been getting the kid gloves treatment, floating through games like it's an open gym scrimmage. But the second she faced the kind of physical, aggressive defense that Clark has been absorbing all season, she folded faster than a lawn chair in a hurricane. Seattle didn't just guard her, they hunted her. They bunked her off her spots, contested every jumper, and made her actually earn possessions. And the result? She vanished. The so-called heir to Clark's throne looked less like a future face of the league and more like a wide-eyed rookie who just realized the varsity level isn't for everyone.
Because she got blitzed, she got doubled. And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed and doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. Paige shot the ball.
The media couldn't stop crowing about Bueckers' efficiency, 47.4% from the field, compared to Clark's rookie mark of 41.7%. To them, it was proof that Paige was more polished, more NBA ready, the smarter scorer, but here's what they conveniently left out: context. Caitlin Clark wasn't taking wide-open mid-range looks against soft coverage. She was dragging defenders through double teams, shooting with bodies draped over her, and still finding ways to put points on the board. Her shot chart was a war zone. Bueckers. Her glossy percentages were built on easy looks and half-hearted contests. Seattle ripped that illusion to pieces in one night. 2 makes on 11 attempts. That's not efficiency, it's exposure, and while Paige was shrinking under pressure, Clark was thriving under assault. She's been hacked, bodied, even targeted with flagrant fouls that had nothing to do with basketball. Teams have treated her like a tackling dummy, and she still puts up stat lines that make Bueckers' box scores look like preseason scrimmage notes.
Paige Bueckers, let me ask you this. How did it feel to be blitzed and played 94 feet before you even get a chance to bring the ball up court like your name was Caitlin Clark, aka my precious Cece? You didn't like that, huh? You hear me? You out there was looking like you was about to cry. Yeah, so what do your fans have to say now? Excuse me, where are you Paige Bueckers fans at? That's y'all MVP and face of the league, right? She's boring. She's not good enough. She gets special treatment. But understand, She kept getting blitz after blitz after blitz.
Let's cut through the noise. August 22nd exposed Paige Bueckers. She finally got a small dose of what Caitlin Clark has been enduring since her very first WNBA game, and she folded. One night of real defensive pressure. One night where the opponent didn't treat her like a showcase attraction, but as the focal point to shut down. And just like that, the next Caitlin Clark looked more like the next player destined for extended bench minutes. This is the same player the media has force-fed us as Clark's superior, more cerebral, more fundamentally sound, the one who effortlessly shattered Clark's rookie records. Analysts lined up to crown her after half a season. But when push literally came to shove, Bueckers showed she's not built for the storm Clark has weathered from day one. She's not ready for the physical chess match that comes with being the target of every defensive scheme. She's not ready for the punishment Clark absorbs on a nightly basis while still dropping historic stat lines. And she's certainly not ready to carry the weight of a league the way Caitlin already does.
How the WNBA played against Caitlin Clark in terms of the defensive strategy, in terms of the other basketball teams around the WNBA, what they did against Caitlin Clark versus how they've handled Paige this year. Everybody wants to act like Paige is so much better than Caitlin. They're certainly not playing defense on Paige the way they played on Caitlin. They're certainly not attacking her with unnecessary fouls the way they attacked Caitlin with unnecessary fouls last year. So in the 2024 season, there were 35 flagrant fouls called. Caitlin Clark received 17% of the entire season's flagrant fouls, 17%. And we've seen all the injuries, we've seen all the fights, the MMA fights that the WNBA players have gotten into this year. There haven't been.
While we're on the subject of manufactured narratives, let's deal with hard numbers that don't lie. Caitlin Clark's rookie season, 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, 5.7 rebounds per game, while being the single most targeted player in the WNBA. Paige Bueckers' rookie season, 19.7 points, 5.3 assists, 4.1 rebounds per game, numbers padded against defenses that treated her like fragile glass. Clark put up her stats while eating flagrant fouls at double the rate of anyone else in the league. Clark put up her stats while coaches literally instructed their players, be physical with her, wear her down. Clark put up her stats while her own coach had to call out non-basketball plays as unacceptable. Bueckers. She floated through her first months on the kid glove circuit. And the moment a team finally decided to test her, to defend her like the superstar she was being sold as, she disappeared. 2 makes in 11 attempts. 0 assists. 11 points that felt more like 11 reminders of just how fragile hype can be. The difference couldn't be clearer. Clark produces under fire. Bueckers produces under protection.
Minus 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points. 0 assists. 0. 0 assists. I don't like. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally, how many blitzes did the Indiana or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? And albeit it's very different when you have a short roller.
The Storm didn't just beat Paige Bueckers, they exposed her. They laid out a blueprint every other team should copy. Brittany Sykes hounded her as the primary defender, with Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, and Erica Wheeler rotating in to provide layers of pressure. Every possession was contested, every shot was earned, and the easy looks she'd been feasting on all season. Coach Noel Quinn summed it up perfectly. It's going to take not only the primary defender on her, but our second and third layers of defense to really be locked into the actions that she receives. Translation: we treated her like a superstar, and she couldn't handle it. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark has been living in that defensive reality since day one. Teams throw multiple defenders at her. They foul her hard, sometimes crossing the line into outright cheap shots. They design entire game plans just to wear her down. And through all of it, Clark isn't just surviving, she's rewriting the record books. Bueckers' defenders will rush to the injury excuse. They'll point to her torn ACL, her missed time, her adjustment period. But that's exactly the difference. Clark never got excuses. She never got a grace period. She never got the luxury of easy games to build confidence. She walked into the WNBA as public enemy number 1 and came out looking like a Hall of Famer. Paige Bueckers, on the other hand, got the red carpet. Soft defenses. Space to breathe. A hype machine clearing the runway for her coronation. And the moment she finally faced true adversity, she collapsed. That's not the mark of a generational superstar. That's the mark of a carefully manufactured narrative, propped up until reality finally tore it down.
And when you guard a player like Paige, it's not just relying on, your guards, whoever has the main matchup, but it becomes a team picture, and understanding, rotations on the ball, off the ball. And I think the other thing that we did, early on, we rebounded decently out of it. We didn't give up too many. I think it was 12 second chance points at the half, but not a lot of deflating possessions after having a lot of deflections.
The most damning part of the Paige Bueckers experiment isn't her stat line in Seattle, it's the scoreboard for her entire season. Even with the media hype machine at full throttle, even with manufactured records, even with defenses treating her like a rookie on training wheels, the Dallas Wings are 9-28. Eliminated. Irrelevant. Looking like they wasted the number 1 pick on fool's gold. Now compare that to Caitlin Clark. She walked into Indiana and instantly transformed the Fever from bottom feeders into must-see television. She didn't just change a team, she changed the league. Packed arenas. Record-breaking TV ratings. National conversations. Clark didn't just put the Fever back on the map, she put the WNBA into living rooms that hadn't tuned in for years. That's the difference between hype and reality. Clark elevated everyone around her and carried a franchise on her back. Bueckers. She couldn't even drag her team to relevance in a season where she was supposedly getting every benefit of the doubt, and here's the scary part, this was before teams really started game planning for her. If August 22nd was any indication of what happens when Paige Bueckers faces the Caitlin Clark treatment, then buckle up, because her education in what real superstardom looks like is going to be long and painful.
Assists this year, not enough. But if her name was Caitlin Clark, I bet she would have had at least 9 to 10 assists. You hear me? Because she's more than just a scorer. You hear me? Unlike Paige Bueckers, she's only a scorer. She's not dynamic. She's boring. You hear me? Clearly she fits the narrative, but she can't handle being double team or triple team. She was out there looking.
The most maddening part of this whole charade has been watching the media bend over backwards to manufacture a rivalry that never existed. For months, they've tried to sell us the idea that Paige Bueckers wasn't just comparable to Caitlin Clark, but actually superior. They waved around shooting percentages without context. They paraded efficiency stats while ignoring the fact Clark was battling double teams and body checks every night. They ranked Bueckers 13th in mid-season power rankings as if she'd already arrived, while Clark sat higher despite taking more punishment than any rookie in league history. The narrative was simple: Bueckers was the more complete player, the polished heir to Clark's throne. Then one game of real defensive pressure tore that fairy tale to shreds. The Emperor had no clothes, and everyone got to see it in prime time. Here's the truth the WNBA and its media partners can't spin away: there is no next Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't just a star, she's a generational disruptor, the Tiger Woods of women's basketball. She didn't just play the game, she changed it. She dragged the sport into the mainstream spotlight by force, and no amount of media wishcasting is going to create a duplicate.
Did you just say Paige Bueckers will save the WNBA season? This season? The same Paige Bueckers that's dating Elmer Fudd? The same Paige that plays in front of empty civic centers for the Dallas Wankers? You expect me to believe she is going to save the WNBA season? She can't even sell out home games. Matter of fact, she doesn't come anywhere close to selling out games. The Wankers rank near the bottom of the league, and
Paige Bueckers isn't the next Caitlin Clark. She's just another talented player caught up in a hype machine desperate to manufacture that next big thing. The moment she faced the same pressure Clark handles every single night, she wilted. August 22, 2025 will be remembered not as a coronation, but as the night the manufactured narrative collapsed under its own weight. Seattle didn't just beat Bueckers, they exposed the myth. The reality check bounced higher than her shooting percentage, and the contrast couldn't be clearer. Clark remains the gold standard, the player who not only elevates her own game but raises the entire sport with her. Everyone else is playing for second place. And after what we saw in Seattle, some aren't even qualified for that. The agenda is exposed. The hype is deflated. And the real question isn't who the next Caitlin Clark will be, it's whether women's basketball will ever see another player at her level again.